Hey, I'm Jonathan, and I live in London, England.
Hey, I'm Jeff, and I live in Perth, Australia.
Together, we are Ekko and Sidetrack.
We produce music that sounds like this.
And this.
And even this. This podcast is about music, creativity, and everything in between the giant space that separates us.
Welcome to A Band Apart with Ekko and Sidetrack. Welcome to the first episode of A Band Apart with Ekko and Sidetrack. Jeff, how are you going?
I'm good. You heard our voices. You heard our voices in the start, so you know which one we are, and you know what our circumstances are.
Yes.
But we thought we'd start a podcast where we can chat about all things musical.
Give you guys a bit of an insight into
Do we want to start
our
again?
conversations.
Let's just start again.
No, this is good. What?
No,
This is good. No, because if we start again, then it's like, oh, I didn't say that right. This is fun.
We'll go it live.
We'll get it live.
You asked how I am. I'm pretty well. Just had a busy day doing some work for my other job, which is a coffee-related job, as you know, but the listeners don't. And yeah, I'm trying to drink less coffee, which is uncharacteristic, but I'm actively doing it after having some insights recently about how edgy it can make me, and how the up and down of riding the wave after not getting enough sleep and then supplementing with coffee can make me feel.
Yeah, I mean, it's like an amphetamine, right? You go up and down.
I call it riding the walrus, Jono.
It is of riding the walrus. It is massively about riding the walrus. I think we've kind of relied on coffee a bit too much to sometimes fuel productivity, or sometimes wake us up, rather than other forms of getting the body. I mean, we exercise in the morning.
Yeah, it's just something I noticed I've been doing for the last 2 weeks or so. I've been drinking less coffee, and I've been feeling better, and I've been sleeping better. So that's made me feel well. How are you and the cat doing?
I'm good. I'm obviously in London, in South London, living with a cat named Wilson.
Wilson.
I'm good, man. Like I think I don't mind this lockdown situation that much. Like, it's giving me time to concentrate on music and explore my creativity in a couple of different ways. But it's also, for me, it's like highlighting some things about my personality or my work ethic or how I work that's pretty substantial, and I'm having quite a few realizations. Like, something I realized that I take way too much time to make breakfast.
Yeah, I think we both have that dawdle approach, that slow. Like, I've often thought about myself, like, if I wanted to film my breakfast making, if I was on a TV show and they were filming me cooking, they'd be like, "What are you doing?" Like, I do lack focus in that department.
Well, because it's not. I don't know if it's necessarily focused, because like, I'm focused, but I'm just enjoying myself. And if I'm enjoying myself, maybe I'm listening to some music or listening to a podcast. It's not that I'm slow. It's more that I just take my time to make it, and then subsequently eat it. So I might take half an hour to 45 minutes to eat my breakfast, whereas I probably could have nailed it in 15. So that's one thing.
Yeah, I've come up against that recently, cooking for myself at home and being like, I want to be out of the house at 9:30, and it's 9 o'clock, and then I'm going to have an omelette. This is easy. I've done this a million times, and then I'll start cooking, and I'll chop up some bits, and I'm cooking, and I'm chatting, and I'll start making my lunch and stuff, and then I'm like, 40 minutes has gone, and I'm sitting eating the omelette, watching, like, reading something on Instagram, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what is going on? Like, if I had to be out of the house, I would. And that comes down to, I'm trying to be real conscious of my time management as well. I've recently had some incidences that left me with some thoughts, big considerations on that front. And it's like, it's kind of such an easy, a seemingly simple, practical thing to do, but it can, I think it can make a real difference if you, like, say, I'm going to do this at this time, and you do it. And especially as we're doing things like, whether we're doing things by ourselves, or we're meeting up with one other person, or meeting someone online, or arranging a phone call. It should be kind of reasonably simple, and I'm really trying to put some of that stuff into practice. I've been setting alarms lately. Like, if I say I'm going to talk to you in 20 minutes, I'll, like, set an alarm for 17 minutes.
Yeah.
And, like, if I say I'm going to leave the studio at a certain time, or be home at a certain time, I set an alarm so I don't drift over. I just, like, that has to be an absolute. But yeah,
I think it's pretty easy to get complacent in times when you're maybe not leaving the house as much, or don't have as many strict what's the word?
Hard outs, hard ins. I don't know. You are stretching your face in ways that the mind boggles. You look like a Star Wars character.
Like, not deadlines, but, like, things to do, appointments to make. Man, that's one thing that this fucking isolation shit is getting to me. Like, I think my vocabulary is going down. Like, I'm forgetting words.
Your what?
Vocabulary.
Your what?
Shut up. Vocabulary.
Just, it's just ironic that that's the word that's melting down.
I can't say that word.
How
do you say it?
Vocabulary.
Vocabulary.
But even that sounds wrong, doesn't it?
Vocabulary. Fuck.
There's so many. Yeah, sorry. There's just a lot of syllables in words that I don't sometimes pronounce.
No, I'd mumble through my life. And, like, I think it could be because I'm not. I think I've just got quite a lazy sense of speech, and I'm really trying to get better at it. I'm trying to write more. I'm reading more.
That's great.
Increasing the
blood flow to the tip of your penis.
Trying to increasing the adjectives and, like, just interesting words, and using words. I've always tried to use interesting words, but, like,
you just used the term interesting.
Fuck,
twice.
this is bad. I'm having a day. I'm
trying to use really interesting words when I use interesting words.
Fuck, let's move on.
No, it is. I find myself, as you are probably even more so, like, you're doing a lot more talking in this time because you might be involving meetings with people, or doing Zoom conversations, or, like, let's have a hangout on house party or something like that. And that could get quite tiring. Like, hey, let's hang out. Like, hey, and you're like, man, I don't know if I have any, like, words left. There are some days I feel like I have a finite amount of words, which is saying something because I like to talk. But there are also days when I don't have the words, but then they come when I not force myself, but I get involved. Like, we've all looked at the phone one day and been like, I want to speak to that friend, but I just can't at the moment. And then if you pick up that phone, it's almost like you magically get those points to interact, and you're like, oh man, I got it. It was worth it. I did really well.
I think it's just your mind kind of resisting. I don't know what that is. I think that could be, because I get that same thing. I think that could be a spot in our minds where the extrovert and the introvert cross over. So, like, there'll be times when we're happy to talk to people, and, like, especially on the phone, and make phone calls, but it's like your extroverted energy drops, and then it transfers to your introverted energy, and it's like, you know what, I can't, like, I love that person, or I can talk to that person tomorrow, but I just can't do it today. Like, I had the instance, I was supposed to talk to Rob last week, and like we delayed it. I mean, there was a time that he couldn't do it, and there was a time I couldn't do it. But then a couple of times I was like, "Hey, man, I've just spoken to too many people today. I can't do this conversation."
Yeah.
And then I had a time, locked it in, and he was the only person that I spoke to. So it was like fresh. I was firing. I had lots of exciting adjectives to use. Didn't even say interesting once. And it was good. And I think that's just something to remember. Like, you can't just talk to people for 6 hours during this time. Is there anything that you're, like, what is something, obviously we're working on lots of music, and obviously there's exciting things about that, like the new single, which it's sounding really good.
I'm really excited. We need a new word to say other than excited. I'm entranced by the new single. It's in my head, Jonathan. I've been singing it. I woke up the other day with it in my head, and I'm like, is that because I've heard it several times, or is this a actual catchy tune?
I was singing it just like around the house the other day.
Yeah,
I think it's catchy. I think it's got some feelings involved. But aside from doing music, and of course we've just started talking about offering online tutorials, or online tutoring rather. What is something non-musical that you're excited to do during this time? Like, this is, I think often we've talked about how time restrictions, like, is a bane of our existence. All we always say is, like, if only I had more time, if only I didn't have to work, or if only I did blah blah blah, this or that. So what is something non-musical that you are excited about exploring during this time of lockdown, isolation, etc.?
I've got a few things. I made a list of goals at the start of my year, and I think I've been neglecting some of them.
And these are specifically creative at this stage?
Yeah. And one of them was to
go to the moon?
I want to go to the moon. I want to wear your skin. No,
to a party I am going to.
I want to be able to be more vulnerable, and that I've written some notes about it. I've written some things about it. One very practical thing that I'd like to do is try and do some like guitar videos where I like cover a song or something like that, and just practice guitar, but also give me enough of that like risk factor that there's going to be like a flow state to come from it, and so there's like a level to get to. So I'd like to get back onto the guitar and learn more of my things, so I can relate what I know on the piano to what I know on the guitar, and I can become a better songwriter because of it.
Yeah, I've always said that you should be writing songs on the guitar.
Yes, you totally have, and I've been trying to touch it every time I go to the guitar. That is, every time I go to the studio. But the hands, as Brian May.
Who's Brian May for the folks at home?
Is he the guitarist from Queen?
I think so.
Am I talking about Jimmy Page?
Well, he's the guitarist from Led Zeppelin.
Okay. Queen. Brian May.
Brian May? Okay.
Yeah, said that when Freddie Mercury helped him write the solo for Bohemian Rhapsody, and Freddie was like, I've got some suggestions for you, can I suggest some things? And he sung this solo. And Brian May was like, that's so sick. Like, and he played it. It was quite reasonably simple. I can't remember off the top of my head what it sounds like. But Brian May said, sometimes your hands will fall to the positions they comfortably fall to, and they become commonplace, and so that's how you develop a style, but it's also how you develop something that's going to sound similar often. And he goes, and by Freddie writing that solo with his mouth, it was all obviously in key and amazing, but it just made him think about the fretboard differently on a guitar. And I kind of want to get back into playing the guitar so I can pick up the guitar and be like, that's a D, that's a this, and that I'm adding a suspended thing there, rather than just being like playing some power chords and playing some open strings and getting a few bits and pieces.
Be able to experiment freely on the guitar and kind of have some more knowledge of what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm linking the two more as I'm writing some, like, doing some little non-drum and bass related music as well. I'm writing with a bit more freedom and like thinking of notes, like playing a little riff on the guitar and be like, what's that on the piano? And be like, da-da-da. I was like, oh, I'm playing like an octave, but it's like it's using this note. The guitar's cool as well because you get different voicings on. It's not just octaves and stuff that give you voicings. Like open strings can give you different feelings. So like you like tuning the guitar to a drop D thing that you can get some nice like resonances and stuff. Either way, I'm enjoying playing the guitar, and I'm going to try and play it more.
It's similar to putting reverb on a piano or putting reverb on anything. So like the reason reverb sounds nice, like obviously our ears, we like reverb, but reverb you get harmonies because you're hearing the main. Say you play a simple C chord, you're hearing the C, but as it drifts, you're hearing all these other little points of resonance and harmony. That's why it sounds nice. It's like the guitar, all the guitar strings are usually making a small amount of noise.
They're ringing out as well, which means they're blending over each other.
Yeah, they're blending over. That's why it sounds interesting. That's why things aren't. I mean, yeah, it might be a C chord on the guitar, but there's always like little touches of interest and peaks of harmonic interest that kind of catch your ear. You know, it's not like a straightforward.
Yeah, oh, exactly.
That was supposed to be a chord sound.
Or sometimes, like I was writing a song yesterday with like just a bass, and it's just a bass riff, and I'm like, and Carl came in, shock one from downstairs, and he's like, "Oh, this sounds cool. Like, I like your drums. Like, it sounds sick. Like, show me the song." And I'm like, "It's just this." And he's like, "I couldn't just write a song with just like starting with the bass. He needs more elements there." And I think I was kind of challenging myself to just be like, just write a riff, but there was no other parts around it, and I was, I just thought to myself like, that's probably why I'm a bit stuck just in this little like loop of like. Well,
that's the thing I sent you, the demo I sent you last week, which was a bit more heavy. I struggled. It's kind of how I started. I was like, I wanted to make a heavy song because a lot of the demos we've been sending each other are quite melodic and chord based and that type of thing. So I really struggled with that kind of sounding like an actual song for a while because it just felt like, you know, there's 4 different tracks doing different basses, and it just sounded
disjointed.
Yes, disjointed. Disjointed is the word. Until I put like a little string and like a little pad sample just at small bits, and suddenly that gave a bed for the bass to exist in, and then that allowed me to take the bass to the next level and kind of progress the song to the point where I turned off 2 of those samples. Like, sometimes you need the vibe around something to allow you to pass through
a scaffolding, if you will.
A scaffolding to the tune, yeah.
Speaking of music and things that tickle your ears and harmonies that hang around, should we introduce our first segment? This is going to be a segment where one of us brings the other a piece of music and we listen to it, potentially for the first time, and then we can like talk about it a little bit.
And it's you know, a drum and bass tune we're feeling at the moment. So they should be They're going to be new tunes, maybe tunes you haven't heard.
Maybe tunes you have. Maybe we'll do some classics. Who knows?
Yeah, hi. I'd like a plate of big tunes and a serving of piping hot bangers on the side.
So, Jeff, what song have you chosen?
I have chosen something off Fred V's latest EP. The tune is called Away, and it's featuring Vonnè. And I'm going with Vonnè because of the graph above the E. So she's like cafe, and I'm saying Vonnè, but it could be Vonnè. So it's Away by Vonnè and Fred V and Vonnè, and it came on his Distance EP. Let's take a listen. And we're back. What do you think, buddy? How does that make you feel?
It gives me lots of feelings. That's such a beautiful song. I think the chords, the interesting chord formations really tickle my melodic tip of my melodic wand, if you will. It reminds me a bit of... it's got like this hauntingness to it.
I think it's got a really wonderful gothic charm to it.
Yeah, gothic haunt. Yeah. Do you know what key it's in?
No. Off the top of my head, I couldn't even tell you. But I really like the little arpeggiator in the start that gives away to the vocal. And I like how the vocal's not so up front. I like the vocals kind of like a little bit like behind the music. There's a sampled quality to it. There's a real emotion to her voice that when it gives away to the song as well. I think Fred's really nailed the mix and also the vibe of this tune, like the glue of the song, like the riff, the the LFO-y bass and chords really work really nicely, but it's like somehow the mix is nice, still nice and thick, and it doesn't just sound like things are sitting on top of each other. And the strings as well. I think the
haunting string that is I think it's in the last 16 of the first drop is beautiful. And then man, the second drop,
I really like the second drop. Yeah,
the arps open up and it's like a progression from the first drop. I think is really beautiful. It's one of those. I don't know. I like songs that do have a different second drop. Like obviously some songs are suited to it and some songs aren't. But it feels like a little gift. It feels like you're getting a little gift at the 3-minute mark.
Well, as well, I think too often we might think of drum and bass as DJ tools where it's like I'm going to mix it and I'm going to play it with another song, then I'm going to double drop it with another song. So you kind of never hear the song by itself. Or you're going to play it with another by itself, and then you're going to use it as a mixing tool. Now more than ever, as people are potentially listening to more music, drum and bass, in isolation, not just themselves in isolation, but also the song in isolation from other songs. It's nice to be able to write 4 minutes. Maybe it's a 4-minute song, but there is a reason to listen to the 4-minute mark. Rather than just being like, oh, I know what this song does. Because, man, I've been guilty of it before. Like, turn off the song after a minute and a half and be like, yeah, cool, I think that's just going to repeat that. You want to be happy that you played 4 minutes. Even if it has repeated, you're getting little bits each time it happens that you are happy that it repeats, not just like, oh, it's doing this again.
Yeah.
And I think Fred's really nailed the vibe on that, and so has Vonnè. I really love her vocals in that, and I think it's awesome. I think that I also should correct myself. It's on the Proximity EP. But the is it? I don't know.
No, it's the Distance EP.
Or maybe I got that wrong. I think Fred V's really nailed that, and I'm happy to share that with you.
I'm happy that you shared it with me.
Have you spoken to Fred recently?
I had a very brief Zoom with him, Joanne, his girlfriend, Armin, Sebastian Krakota, who else? Yazzie might have been there. A couple other people. But I was in music making mode, so I dropped in for a glass of wine and then dropped out again. But we got drunk like a week and a half ago on Zoom, which was funny. He seems to be going well.
Yeah, I watched his tutorial, not his tutorial. I caught up on did a DJ Instagram takeover for someone, and he was just in the studio and he was talking about making some textures and writing a little song, and I thought it was a nice little insight into his creative process. Has anything funny happened to you lately, Jonathan? Because I had a book go missing 2 weeks ago, and I swore it just fell off the face of the earth. And then it has magically returned. And
did you end up asking? Did you?
Dad, yeah,
did you ask it?
I asked Dad. He's your dad too.
Did you ask my dad where it went?
Yeah, and he seems to think that he just he came into my room to look for something, or not look for something. He was he looked for a charger or something, and he was like he reached under my bed and then like pulled it out. But I could have sworn, like, I've put 2 other books next to my bed since losing that book, and I could have sworn it wasn't there. And yeah, that felt like a little bit weird, and like my last few weeks has been a little bit weird in some other respects, and it's like there was this like dimensional shift. I think I talked to you the other day about this, like it's like I woke up in this other dimension, and something happened, things went a little bit quite awry, and then like I've kind of returned back to this other dimension now, and like that book was like, oh, the book was here all along. It's you that moved dimensions. It's a wild concept, and a very long bow to draw. But has anything strange happened to you recently?
I don't think I've been. I haven't really been out of the house, to be honest. I mean, apart from some exercises or some going to the shops. So like within the house, I don't think there's enough demonic energy for there to be something really weird happen to me. But
did you open a trapdoor to somewhere lately? I just remembered that.
There is it's cool. Like there's a cellar in the house, which is basically just a space underneath the house for storage, and it's probably big enough. It's big enough for 10 people.
How many demons?
There's at least 2 demons down there. I went down there and it's cold. Like it's got this like, it doesn't smell, but it's got like that kind of, you're underground, you're in the earth. It would actually be quite relaxing down there, I'm sure, if it wasn't most probably the house or home of some sort of demonic creature. But I haven't felt a
presence
of any kind. But man, it would be a fucking crap time to be in a house that was somewhat haunted or something. I told you about my experience with Papa in the house that you're currently in.
No, by all means, fill me in on this.
So like, for the listeners back home, our grandfather died in the house that Jeff is currently in.
Yeah, let's rephrase that. He passed away in his sleep in the house. He wasn't fucking killed, and like he didn't like.
Yeah. Sorry, that might have been.
He died in a knife fight in the kitchen with our elder brother.
He passed away, and
yeah,
I had an experience. I don't know, when I was young, I'd maybe like under 10.
Before he died.
No, he had died. He passed away when I was 6 or 7. So yeah, I don't know. It was some time afterwards, and I basically came out in the middle of the night and he asked for a pair of scissors, and I was giving him a pair of scissors.
What?
And I don't know if Dad found me or Mum found me, and I was like standing in the just the entrance to the hallway with a pair of scissors, or maybe I said something in the morning. I was like, oh, I saw Papa last night or something, but I saw him, and he coaxed me out of my room to give him something. I don't know what it means. I can't. The memory of it is so hazy as well. But I had some sort of interaction with him.
I've had that moment in this house. I think I may have even told the story on another podcast. I called out to you whether you wanted something from the fridge. We would have been like 18. I would have been 18. And then you said, yeah, man. And then I grabbed it and I saw you walk into the front of the house. So like, out of the corner of my eye, I saw you walk into the front of the house. And I grabbed it and then I walked into the front of the house. And I was like, "Hey, Jono, I've got your thing." And then you yelled out from the back of the house. And I was like, but I just saw you walk to the front.
You saw a demon.
I don't think Papa was a demon.
No. It might not. I don't think Papa was a demon either.
I think it's a legend of the...
Do you think it was Papa you saw? I mean, that would make sense.
Yeah,
some sort of
apparition.
Memory of an apparition of Papa. It would make sense. Any sort of weird shit that happens in that house, I always think that it's Papa, and it always leaves me with a feeling of like comfort.
It's a positive. It's definitely a positive
because it's
energy,
like, my like Papa's doing some stuff. He's hanging around. It's not like he's gonna harm me or something like that.
No, he's such a loving, caring dude. Like, man, he lived a crazy life. I have to get Dad to translate his diaries. Like stories from being a cabin boy in Norway in the 30s
or something.
And then
wow.
Being part of the underground newspaper in...
He was part of the Norwegian resistance and had a printing press. That's a movie, Jeff.
Yeah, that story that Dad tells us how like he was running the copy of the paper to go on the press that day on his motorcycle, and he got pulled over by the Germans. And he scrunched it up and put it in his hand. And he puts his hands on top. They said, put your hands on top of your head. And he's got it in his pocket. And they searched him. And then they let him go. All they had to do was check his hands and he would have been shot. But he slept with a Luger under his pocket.
No, not a Luger. A PP7.
PP7. GoldenEye.
PP7. Remember we went to... when we went to Norway in 2008. And Bjorn still had it. And it was like James Bond's gun.
Yeah. Well, actually, it was Papa's gun, but Papa was James Bond, so it all comes around in the wash.
Oh, badass. He's I don't think he would be a loving apparition if he is an apparition at all. Maybe it's just something we play in our minds because it's more fun and it's like a nice way to remember our grandfather. Yeah.
And I think how this conversation started was like I asked you if anything had happened to you strange recently, but no, that's an interesting tangent to go off on.
It would be like it'd be a bad time to be dealing with any sort of demon haunting. I was actually thinking about
being haunted during the COVID-19 crisis of 2020 would be... I would maybe take the virus. Unless the demon followed you. Imagine that. It was attached
classically, demons do follow the characters in films where there are demons. Like, what's that movie where they try to move house and it just follows them? There's a movie.
It sounds like a bad time.
It's not it's not The Conjuring. It's like...
The Amityville Horror?
Maybe. I don't know. It just follows them. Like, that would be so fucked to be like... Finally, we're out of that house, and then just like in the new house, the demon has latched onto your youngest child or something.
The feeling of being possessed or having someone around you that was possessed by anything other than the funk would be hell.
Be terrible. It would be, man. Oh,
let's just agree to
imagine. Can you just imagine being at like the breakfast table and someone's like, "Hey, can you please?" and just starts like speaking in tongues and just like levitates slightly and is doing things and contorting their face in a way that you know that humans can't do by themselves.
The contortions would be the
sort of contorting.
The contorting of the fingers, like bending them back and then like grabbing the butter. And, like, grabbing the butter and trying to spread the bread or like... anyone who's possessed...
Can get the fuck away from me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we really went a little bit off topic there. Not that there ever is a topic to our conversations. It's
No. No, it's about two brothers hanging out, talking shit, trying to make each other laugh. That's what it's doing. Man, I miss. It's hard not being with you to like laugh. Like I'm really glad we've had a couple of really solid laughing sessions and a couple of silly moments, because that's what I miss. Like,
man,
Dan.
Sorry, you go on.
No, you go.
No, you say.
I was just gonna say it was really nice.
Sorry, no, you go. I'm kidding.
It was really nice having Dan come around and have a beer with him. We
have had some laughs with Dan Brooks.
Yeah,
we have had some absolute laughs. I've got to find those videos, man. Those videos from that NZ tour we did with Trey and Dan. Shout out to Trey, and Dan Brooks from the Brooks Brothers. We laughed so many times at some of the silliest things.
Yeah.
And that video when he'd like, why are we doing push-ups? We're just like doing like stretching and doing some push-ups and stuff, and then he started filming us, and we're both like shirtless in his room doing push-ups.
I don't know, because I remember that was in Queenstown, I think.
Yeah.
In that hotel that was like all rum dust themed, which was sick.
When Dan Blazarian was at Fergburger.
Yeah, that's right. Mental. Yeah, man, that I like laughing. Laughing, man, nothing is better. Nothing, like absolutely nothing is better than laughing with like a couple of people who you're really good friends with, and like uncontrollably, like you and I love uncontrollable laughter and like love silliness and like love that. Like losing it is so funny. Like when we were watching Die Hard. Me, you, and Dan Brooks sitting in a bed watching Die Hard after coming home
it's
after
like
a gig.
4:30 in the morning. We got a flight at like 8 o'clock in the morning. We're watching
and just
Die Hard with
laughing.
a vengeance.
Man, that felt. I honestly think we get along with the Brooks Brothers so well because they're brothers, we're brothers, and we're interchangeable. Like, you know, like I'm one of the Brooks Brothers, you're one of the Brooks Brothers, they're one of the Hanson brothers. Like, it's no matter what we do, it's just like you're hanging out with your brother.
Yeah, remember, man, Phil sent me a message from Jamaica and he's like, man, I miss my brothers, hey. Like, it's like you could be talking to any of us. I think we had another laughing moment when we were in Amsterdam last year with
Josh Graphics,
and we're like, yeah, we're sleeping on the couch like at Joanne's house, and
yeah,
me and you were sharing a bed. Josh is on the couch, and like the lights
is this
are out.
In the morning?
No,
this is
at night.
This is at night. Yeah,
we're
that's
like,
right. Yeah.
We're like talking, and it's almost like it was a high school sleepover, man. Like we were like brushing our teeth and we were like laughing, like talking about songs and like I don't know, maybe talking about girls. And then like the lights go out and we all like, oh man, this is so much fun. We like laughed heaps, and then like just as we're all about to doze off, like I just farted this like long, and we all just started laughing. We're just like, we may as well have been 15 years old. It was hilarious.
That was so funny.
And man, I reckon they're the priceless moments. Like I value. We've had this conversation, Jonathan. I value laughter above almost anything.
Me
including often getting the job done right, which has been.
I 100% agree. I swear I told Simon that once, and it's a bit of a stupid thing to say to your boss, but like I do my work and I'll get the job done, but I value laughing and having fun more than it. Like I couldn't.
I like getting paid, but I really like having fun.
No, but like it's important to me to get the job done and be productive, but have fun. I mean, I've said again, I'm not. It's a different thing. Don't worry about that. But like, yeah, man, life is supposed to be about having having a silly time and like doing like that's why I think we like podcasts with comedians so much, because they're just comedians really seem to just be looking for the joke everywhere and being silly and having fun and valuing the joke over anything. And they're lucky because that's, I mean, they're lucky because that's their work as well.
And that's what kind of what they're expected to do. So they practice it lots.
Yeah, exactly. But I wish more people could be more open to being silly all the time. I sometimes feel like people only feel like they can be silly when they're maybe inebriated with drugs or alcohol. But I think that's more because like a comfort thing.
Yeah, maybe they're just holding in like a fart sometimes.
Yeah.
And it like it squeezes out and they're like, oh, that was weird. And you're like, no, you're just being funny.
Yeah.
You're just relaxed, man. It just slid out.
Yeah, that's funny. Let it slide out more around me. I wanted to say...
I feel like I've been a little bit like serious maybe over the last month as this whole crisis has unfolded and we've lost work and our plans have basically, for lack of a better expression, fallen apart a bit. Like we had European summer tour dates that have been postponed or cancelled. New Zealand tour dates. You were going to come back here for some shows. And like, I think
it's been a shit show.
Yeah. And I think I got quite serious and I lost some of the emotional side that can make me relaxed and fun. And I think I let some of my serious ambitious side take over, and often the ambition part of me can like push some of those feelings down, that fun feeling, because it's like what purpose does the fun feeling serve? We have to get this done, we have to do this, I need to do this, like, and I think when you're anxious or stressed, it's hard to let go, and that's something I'm working on. And I just thought I'd add that in there because I feel like the laughter has not been happening enough for my liking.
Yeah. Well, thanks for adding that in. I'm going to add in that during this time, obviously I haven't been shaving my pubic area.
Oh, you're letting it Black Forest out on you, eh?
Yeah, and I looked at it this morning and I was like, man, my dick looks like my dad's dick.
You're my dad.
Like proper just like
proper
unkempt from
three-tone behind the fucking hedges.
Not in the discoloration, just like in the amount of fur. It's just like haven't been trimmed since 1965 or never been trimmed maybe. And I like it.
Yeah,
it makes me feel like it's honestly it's like
maybe when you get that dad dick look going on, you get that dad strength as well. Have you tried to lift something heavy?
No, I might go try to lift the couch by myself after this though.
Don't forget to do your back as you fuck, and then put
my bloody hernia.
And then pull out the old two-tone python and see if it still holds up. Why do you think you've been letting things go?
Slide down there. Honestly, it's because I didn't. I don't know. It's just no one's going to see it. No one's seeing it except me.
Do you I'm trying not to let isolation get in the way of some of my personal hygiene.
Let me just clarify this. It's not like I'm forgetting like hygiene or anything like that. All I've done is just to decide to not trim my pubic region as often or as you know, as to keep it as tight as we sometimes talk about keeping it. But like,
Who are
More
you
is just
talking
an
about
experiment.
keeping it more as an experiment, just letting it grow out?
Seeing what happens, seeing how high I can get. Can I get to the helmet?
Oh, you're growing it up you're growing it up the
I'm growing it up the stalk. It's like Jack and the Beanstalk, trying to get to the top.
There's a graphic image, and I think if you would like to draw a picture of that graphic image and send it to us, we'd love to receive it. I think on that note, we can about wrap this up, because you've got music to do and I've got some other things to do. But lovely to chat to you, and
Lovely to chat to you, buddy.
let's do it again next week, and you can bring me a song, and I'll bring you some stories, and maybe you can tell us more about the growth of the demon under your house.
Okay.
Metaphorically, and also referring to your pubic region.
All right, buddy. I love you.
I love you too, man. Catch ya.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this week's podcast. Make sure you subscribe to us on your podcast app and keep up to date with all new episodes. They're going to be coming out once a week. We are Ekko and Sidetrack on Facebook and Instagram. On Twitter, we are Ekko Sidetrack. Go listen to our music on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, YouTube, or wherever your ears consume happiness. Lots of love, people.